Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today we're going to discuss Boris Todbringer, the Elector Count of Middenland and a possible FLC legendary lord. A large portion of the Total War Warhammer community are expecting for the Beastmen to be the next DLC to be featured in Total War Warhammer 2. This makes sense as the Beastmen are in dire need of a rework, and it's probably best to leave the Warriors of Chaos and Norska until Game 3, as they both have very striking similarities, and more than likely the stuff which will be added in for them will be more of a demonic nature. But this isn't a conversation about the Warriors of Chaos, Norska or the Beastmen specifically. This is about Boris Todbringer, where if the new DLC is focused around the Beastmen and whatever other Game 2 faction, then Boris Todbringer might be the perfect pick for the FLC Legendary Lord. Let's look at the reasons why. Boris Todbringer is a long requested character to be made into a proper legendary lord in the Total War Warhammer series. And while he's already a unique legendary lord in a sense, he has no start position, you can't actually begin a game with him, and of course he has no unique mechanics. Boris was added to the game long ago with the release of the Call of the Beastmen DLC, where he acted as Kazrak the One-Eye's adversary for the Beastmen mini-campaign. He is one of the extremely few Lord characters which were introduced to the game with their own custom model, yet are not playable as a campaign start from the very beginning. Upon completing the Beastmen Eye for an Eye mini-campaign, you will get access to Boris Todbringer, but only through multiplayer battles and custom battles of course. If you wanted to play as him in the campaign, your options would be to either confederate him or use some mods. Creative Assembly have indeed confirmed that Boris would eventually get his day, and being released alongside a Beastmen DLC might be the best opportunity. He already has his custom model. All he really needs is his faction mechanics, some faction effects, and of course some voice acting. But with his model already complete, some of the work is already done, and let's be honest, I doubt that the Total War Warhammer community would take too kindly to have to pay for a character they can technically already use. Boris himself also has a lot of history with the Beastmen, so it does make sense thematically to include him as the FLC Lord when it comes to a Beastmen DLC. This is not like the Shadow and the Blade and its accompanying patch, where Réponse de Lyonesse was added in an effort to introduce the Bretonnians into the Eye of the Vortex map. Then again, the whole DLC didn't really make sense to me theme-wise, but let's not open that can of worms. We also have to take into account the following. The Wood Elves only had 2 legendary lords before the Twisted and the Twilight cycle, and the Beastmen currently, before any DLC launches for them, possible DLC of course, currently have 3. It would make no sense to have the FLC as a Beastman Lord. That would put them at 5, one above the Wood Elves. Of course, then if we look back to the Twisted and the Twilight, we have to look to how Draco was implemented. An FLC Legendary Lord which technically wasn't an FLC at all. To be able to play as her in Total War Warhammer, you needed to have purchased Game 1, Game 2, and the Realm of the Wood Elves DLC. You needed to have the previous DLC which was launched only for Game 1. The character herself was also only available for the Mortal Empires campaign. Now, unless they've changed anything without my knowledge, Boris is only unlockable and usable if you've beaten the Eye for an Eye campaign, which in theory would mean that he's specifically tied to that DLC. So in theory, if all this is correct, Boris himself would be the perfect candidate for a DLC for DLC pack. Boris, like Draco, would only be available in the Mortal Empires campaign, and the only way you will be able to properly access him is by owning Game 1, Game 2, and obviously the Call of the Beastmen. It pretty much writes itself. Obviously I could be wrong, but logically speaking this does make a lot of sense. With this format, not only would you have the usual 3 legendary lords to play, 2 paid and 1 FLC, but now would also have incentive to play 3 different races: Beastmen, Imperial, and whoever the Beastmen are fighting against. There might be people about to comment in regards to any units that might be Middenland specific, which may unfortunately get missed if Boris becomes an FLC, and really not so much. Essentially, the grand majority of the Middenland list, which was featured in Warhammer Fantasy Battles 6th edition, was pretty much all kit bashers. To non-tabletop players, that is more or less our version of a reskin, where we would use parts of other minis to create new minis. So if we look at any missing units, like say for example the Knights of the White Wolf, well, wouldn't it just be easier to give a reskin to the Bretonnian Questing Knights and give them a more Imperial feel, plus some Norscan features? As we know, the Northerners of the Empire are a bit more rugged. The Bretonnian Questing Knight animations have already been used for a special unit within the Empire, that of the Stubborn Bulls, which are Imperial Knights with greatswords. A lot of the work has already been done, considering that the horses would be the same, but rather than a red tint, they would have a blue tint on their armor. If we look towards Draco once again, she had the inclusion of wolves in her army. Considering the fact that Creative Assembly do like using the wolves, it could be possible they would use that skeleton once again to finally create hunting hounds, which were a feature in the Middenheim list. Altering the skeleton is pretty much all that it would need, just pretty much around the head, as everything else is still canine, and we've already seen something like this come into effect when they did that for the Zotes, which seem to be using the animations and skeleton of the Dragon Ogres. The only thing that would need to have a unique model would be the inclusion of a legendary hero, that of the Ard Ulrich, and even then the base model itself would be that of a warrior priest, just with a few changes here and there. The only other thing, of course, is that they'd need to replace some voice lines. It would make no sense for Ulrichian units to be shouting for Sigmar, where up north it's mostly focused around Ulrich. Of course, this is just my opinion, and I could indeed be wrong, but what do you guys think about Boris being the FLC Lord in a possible future DLC for the Beastmen? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel has been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.